Good evening. We'll, we'll call this meeting to order. I'm only kidding. I've always wanted to do that, looking at President Iannuzzi there. Anyway, welcome and good evening. My name is Jonathan Raymond. I'm Superintendent of Schools here in New Rochelle, and it is a pleasure and it is an honor to be here. This is a very exciting evening where we get to celebrate the equity through infrastructure collaboration with our community and the incredibly successful work that's been accomplished over the last six plus years. Is that right, Carl? I'm looking at Carl Thurnow. Okay. You'll hear from Carl shortly on the agenda. Anyway, I get to be the host, the master of ceremonies. I don't have to do a whole lot tonight because you know what? I wasn't here for this most important effort and the incredible success, but a lot of members you'll hear from tonight have been. They've been here every step of the way. And most importantly, we're here to say thank you to our great community of New Rochelle for supporting this really, really important work, which you'll be hearing about shortly. So with that, I'd like to welcome Board of Education President and a proud New Rochelle Huguenot graduate, Will Iannuzzi. Welcome, Will.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm just going to give quick introductions and welcome. I've been on the board for 4 years now, and it's been amazing to see the transformations of our schools and the amazing investments put into this district and all of our facilities. As Mr. Raymond said, I am a proud alum of this district, and I'm very jealous of how the schools look now compared to when I came here, and I graduated in this school in 2010. But I just want to thank you all for your hard work. Carl, Keith, all the staff in the district, CS Arch, thank you guys all for your amazing support. This is amazing, and I'm so excited to see all the kids use the schools now. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to recognize board member Margaret Bavosa is joining us this evening. Hello, Margaret. Thank you. And now you mentioned hearing a little bit about all the great work that was done. So I'd love to ask our former Director of Facilities, Mr. Carl Thurnow, and CS Arch Executive Vice President, Tom Rittenhauer, to please come up and walk us through all the work that was done and completed. We have a great story to tell. So Carl and Tom, welcome.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Raymond. It's a pleasure to be here. We're going to just give a brief history. Tom actually has the most lengthy experience on this project. I joined the district in 2016 when the $106.5 million bond was already in process. So Tom's going to give a little bit of history about how we got to this point and what led up to it, and then we'll talk about the types of improvements that were accomplished at every location and talk about what we hope to do for the future. Tom?
Well, thank you. It's great to see everyone here tonight. Certainly on behalf of CS Arch, and I'll extend even on behalf of Jacobs as the construction manager, we're really excited to be part of this project and really honored to be here celebrating this completion of this project tonight. I wanted to take everybody back, and I had spoken with Carl about this. You know, it's easy to forget some of the history of how all of this got started. And we were retained in 2015 by the district to do the building condition survey. That's a state mandated inspection of all the school buildings. And that was summer of 2015. And during that summer, we were actually at Daniel Webster and walked into a classroom where the ceiling had collapsed onto the floor. And it was an interesting time for the district, certainly an emergency, and Ms. Pazzarelli will certainly attest to how much work and effort had to go into moving that program. And that was just the beginning. You know, at the end of the building condition survey inspections, what we determined was that every building in the district had rated unsatisfactory by the state education department guidelines. And I think the event at Webster really was the calling card for the community that we need to address our facilities in a very different manner, because that's for the safety and for the education of all of the children that are served here in New Rochelle. So that was a big event, and I think it heightened the community's awareness of the importance and the need to address facilities improvement. So at the end of the BCS, the end of the Building Condition Survey, we outlined $106.5 million worth of need district-wide. And I remember back then, it was really the emphasis of putting the entire amount up to the community so that we could assure every building in the district would rate satisfactory at the end of this project. We have now completed the latest round of the building condition surveys for the district, and I can tell you that now every building in the district is rated as satisfactory. So the goal of this entire program was achieved, and I think that's an important milestone, and that's what we're really celebrating here tonight. So I thank you for allowing us to be a part of it, and with that, I'm going to turn it back to Carl to talk about some of the details of the work.
Thank you. Just to piggyback a little bit on what Tom said, the 2015 Building Condition Survey was the starting point to understand what condition the facilities were in, and that is the document that set the work that we needed to do to return those facilities. It was originally hopeful that it was going to be a 4 to 5 year plan, and that simply became not feasible based on the extent of the amount of work. And quite frankly, this district has so many programs, both during the school, after school type programs, and during the summer with city recreational programs, summer school, district recreational programs, et cetera, that we simply had to stretch the timeline a little bit in order to make sure that we could do the work that needed to be done in an appropriate manner, making sure that we took the time to do the work properly. Because the last thing that we wanted to do was to rush the work into a smaller timeline than was required to do it properly, and then come out with potentially substandard work that wasn't going to live the useful life that we needed it to live based on the improvements that we're making and the public commitment, the commitment to the public to use their resources wisely. So we ultimately are completing the work now. It was a total of 6 years. Part of that was stretched because, of course, we got hit with Hurricane Ida last year. That put a substantial impact on the district. In addition to the bond work that we were doing, we then had to recover from the flood. So there is a tremendous amount of work that has been completed, and we're here to celebrate how much we've been able to accomplish and the time frame that we've been able to complete it in, so that we can look towards the future and continue to improve the facilities. So as I mentioned a moment ago, I was recruited to come to the district in 2016 by the previous administration, and my previous position was as the Director of Facilities for the state of New York. So when you heard Mr. Ritzenthaler talk about the building condition survey, et cetera, I was responsible for assembling all that documentation on behalf of the state when the law was originally passed in 2000. Because the state understood that in order to spend its resources wisely, in order to help school districts maintain their facilities properly, in order to protect the health and safety of all of the students in the state, they wanted school districts to hire architects and engineers on a 5-year basis to do thorough examinations of their facilities to understand each district's need. And then when I was at the state education department, we took that information and looked at it in comparison to the projects that school districts were submitting, so that we as the state were satisfied that the district was concentrating on those highest priority things that would eliminate the health and safety conditions around the district. And as you heard Tom mention, this district made the incredible decision to ask the voters for approval for the entire amount that was identified in the 2015 Building Condition Survey, which was successful, as Tom also mentioned, in eliminating all of the unsafe and unhealthy conditions that had accumulated over time. So that's where we are today. We're proud to say that all the buildings are now satisfactory. Obviously, we're in the high school, so we can start here. As far as the improvements, obviously the outside is the most obvious, where we have brand new turf fields, including the first time for ladies girls softball. We have new parking lots and tennis courts and sidewalks. We've replaced a significant portion, probably 50-60% of the retaining wall around the football field that was in significant deterioration. We replaced the roof on, I would say, the entire main building except the pool and the gym, which had been replaced relatively recently, and House 4. House 4 is now at an age where it needs to be considered in the next bond, but at the time this bond was planned, the roofing was in good condition, and so we concentrated on the main portion of the building, including all new slate roofing that mimics the original, of course, slate roof. It's a gorgeous building, and it has been brought back to its original, including, if you take a look at the clock tower, there's beautiful cast stone gargoyles. We even replaced several of those that had failed. The clock tower is now operational. Interior, we've done a substantial amount of new flooring. We've brought state-of-the-art products into the schools, something called LVT, luxury vinyl tile. The term luxury is misleading. It's only luxury because we now no longer have to spend the time and effort to strip and wax those floors. They do not need it. That's a healthy floor because we no longer have to use the chemicals to strip the wax and then the chemicals to replace the wax and so forth. So those are the types of things that we've also spent a significant amount of improvement on. New gymnasium floors, upgraded HVAC systems, upgraded plumbing systems. The mechanical systems are in excellent shape. So the high school in and of itself was the significant portion of the work. Moving on from there, our two middle schools also received a substantial amount of work. Isaac Young, the entire exterior portion of the masonry, original stone masonry, was repointed, and a significant amount of new roofing was done so that the building is watertight. And I should mention that was the significant portion of the $105 million bond, was making the buildings watertight to keep the weather out and therefore be able to improve the indoor environment. Also at Isaac Young, we did a substantial amount of new flooring, renovations to cafeterias. We installed new auditorium seating and carpeting, and replaced old, worn-out fixtures with renovated bathrooms, for example. So bottom line is that the facility received a substantial amount of improvements, and exterior-wise, renovated fields. I mentioned the stone, parking lots, sidewalks, et cetera, have all been renovated, staircases and so forth. Moving over to Albert Leonard. Albert Leonard is one of the newer, is the newer middle school, and all new improved parking facilities, sidewalks, interior, we did a substantial amount of roofing at Albert Leonard as well. There were boilers done under a previous energy performance contract, so those systems have been upgraded. New HVAC equipment, gym floors have been refurbished, new bleacher systems have been replaced, so the old wooden bleachers have been removed. We renovated significant numbers of interior classrooms and flooring, and those types of things as well. Moving on from the middle schools, we have, of course, the 7 elementary schools. The biggest thing that you're going to see there is all the new playgrounds. There were 5 brand new playgrounds established under the bond, and this was an important first step so that the kids had great state-of-the-art places to play with soft impact systems so that they lessen the chance of injury if there's falls or accidents and so forth. And it also allowed the community to see that we were taking action. The first things done were basically some roofing at Barnard and at Webster, as well as all the playgrounds. So it provided an important visual impact to see that progress was being made. Other improvements at elementary schools, significant amounts at all of the schools of roofing and interior flooring and auditorium seating and HVAC systems. We air conditioned significant public spaces such as auditoriums and cafeterias have been upgraded, new tables, all those types of things. Some of this was in the bond, and some of this was facilities annual budget money to make the improvements that were necessary to go along with the capital improvements so that the spaces were fully renovated. In addition, one of the shining stars at the elementary schools is a turf field at the Columbus Elementary School. So the Columbus location is adjacent to the City Boys and Girls Club, and so it was a perfect opportunity to cooperate and coordinate with the city such that the school district has the ability to use the field during the school day, and then the city takes over and runs programs during after-school activities and weekends. So that's been very successful as well. So I think that we have done a tremendous amount of work. It was a significant amount of work. There were multiple phases to the contract, and we broke it up such that we could accomplish the most amount of work within the time frame necessary and at a level that did not disrupt the district's normal activities too significantly. It is a complex amount of work to get that significant amount of work done, and it does require a tremendous amount of coordination, but we believe we were able to successfully complete that with the least disruption to the academic programs, which of course is the reason that we're all here. So we're happy that we're at this point, and we're very proud of what has been accomplished. And just to reiterate, we have come from a situation where we had a ceiling collapse, unexpected, catastrophic ceiling collapse, to a point where now all of the facilities in the district are rated as satisfactory. And so with that, I look on the agenda here, who's next? I think we're going to hear from Ms. Deidre Clark, PTA Council.
Thank you. I am happy to be here. I am the past president of the PTA Council, also a product of the New Rochelle School District. My father was a product of the New Rochelle School District. To say the buildings are different now is quite an understatement, but it's really a joy as a community member and as a parent to know that the district has the needs of the children in mind in terms of facilities. We as parents, and guardians, we think about our school districts and we think about the teachers and we think about the administrators and we even think about the Board of Education, but we also think about the facilities and we also wonder what kind of schools are our kids going to. And so for this bond to see that there are new playgrounds at the elementary schools, to see that the roofs are not going to fall in, which was a catastrophic event, to know that there's new turf fields, just is a wonderful thing for the community. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm really proud as a community member to say that we support our school districts through a bond, and that we really do believe our district and our facilities are more than satisfactory. They're really beautiful to look at, and they're beautiful to be in for our schools. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Deirdre, and of course, thank you, Carl and Tom. We really appreciate helping us walk us through 6 years in about 16 minutes. It gives me great pleasure now to invite the co-chair of our school district Healthy Safety Committee, Mr. Billy Coleman, to also provide some perspective and the role of the committee. And we have one of our committee members here, Melissa Passarelli, longtime committee member. Thank you for all your help and support. And Mary Breslin, of course, welcome and thank you for your support from our partnership with our teachers and our staff through our fuse. Anyways, Billy, welcome and thank you. Please walk us through the committee's role.
Good evening. My name is Billy Coleman. I am the co-chair of the district-wide Health and Safety Committee, the executive vice president of Fuse, and the secondary plant manager at Isaac E. Young Middle School. Before I go into the responsibilities of the Health and Safety Committee, I would like to acknowledge the rest of the committee members and their roles in the district. I'll start with Paul Vaca, committee co-chair and commissioner of buildings, City of New Rochelle. Mary Breslin, Fuse president, Albert Leonard Middle School teacher. Joe Crienza, Fuse health and safety chairperson and secondary plant manager at Albert Leonard Middle School. Steve Newman, New Rochelle High School teacher, Fuse member. Tom McTide, Trinity teacher, Fuse member. Melissa Passarelli, A&S president, Webster principal. Mike Gallen, A&S member, Columbus principal. Margaret Pravosa, school district board member. Mary Mazzone, parent and community member, City School District New Rochelle. And Deirdre Clark, who you heard from the PTA council member. I want to thank the entire facilities department, especially Carl Thurnow, the former director of facilities, and Keith Watkins, the current director of facilities. Their support and collaboration enabled the committee to fulfill its responsibilities to the students and staff in the City School District New Rochelle. The committee was formed in 2016 and established goals and priorities that would have direct positive impact on the health and safety in our school buildings. At the time, all 10 of our school buildings received unsatisfactory ratings on their building condition survey, which is conducted every 5 years. The community's support of the $106.5 million bond and the capital projects completed over the years have brought our buildings up to satisfactory ratings. During the capital improvement, the committee received monthly reports from project managers, received information from architects, and our own facilities department. We toured buildings each summer as the construction projects were taking place and brought forth any health and safety concerns identified by the committee. We are here tonight to share with the community in the celebration of the work that was done over the last 6 years and to say thank you for passing the bond and making our school buildings a better and safer place to work, a better and safer place for our children to learn. Paul mentioned many times to the committee Mary Fodoro's philosophy of equity through infrastructure, and that is truly the case here tonight in New Rochelle. You'll hear from Mary in a minute. Again, it's been a pleasure as co-chair on this committee, working harmony with everyone to make our buildings a cleaner and safer place to be. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. My name is Mary Filardo, and I'm Executive Director of the 21st Century School Fund. I've been working to improve public school facilities since my children entered their 70-year-old public school in Washington, D.C. in the 1980s. Their school building was deteriorated, full of asbestos, had many fire code violations. There was lead in the water. It was too hot in the winter, too hot in the summer. And there were times when the schools were actually closed due to these conditions. And the list went on and on. I realized that the community in the 1920s, though, had planned, designed, and built, and also paid for this school. And that if my generation, I'm a boomer, didn't modernize or replace these schools, that we would be leaving nothing for the generations coming after us. Also, the neglect of this school had put the school in danger of being closed altogether. It was with these concerns and this passion to improve the environment that my children were in every day that led to my starting a small nonprofit called the 21st Century School Fund. The 21st Century School Fund has done research and advocacy over many years, and I've had the honor of working with other communities, state facilities officials, which is where I got to meet Carl Thurnow, and lately advocating for federal funding for high need and low wealth school districts so they can modernize their schools. I love great buildings and grounds and congratulate the many people in New Rochelle who have engaged in the design, the project management, and the labor in the construction work itself. But what I really want to honor today is the civic and governmental effort that is at the heart of your accomplishments. The vision for facility improvements, the plans, and the state and local funds from residents of this community and the state converged. These elements together demonstrate the power of public will for state-of-the-art school facilities. I commend you for finding common ground and encourage your community to continue with program and capital investing in every one of your school communities until all of your neighborhoods can offer their children, youth, and school staff healthy, safe, educationally inspiring, and environmentally sustainable public school buildings and grounds. But I certainly congratulate you on the accomplishments of the most recent bond, but hope that you realize the importance of continuing forward. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That's a great segue to the next part of the agenda, which is my part, which is what's the road ahead. And I think as Mary just said, and Billy and the committee have alluded to, and I think Carl and Tom have also spoken to, that in equity through infrastructure investment simply doesn't stop. It's not a one time, that we have to keep moving forward. And part of what I think we realized through the last capital bond was that the investment in our beautiful, amazing infrastructures that we educate and teach our children in need to be ongoing and needs to be kept up. And really, learning from the Grand Master Carl there, it really pays to continue to go forward every 5 years and take advantage of state resources that are available, first through the building condition survey, which I'm happy to share and to remind the community that the school district did complete this past year, an extensive undertaking, and we thank Tom and CS Arch and our friends and partners, Jacob, and the role of the committee to take a look at this very extensive and very thorough building condition survey, and which the state encourages and recommends every 5 years. We go through the building condition survey, we reassess the condition of our buildings, and then we look based upon the need, and we match up a number of factors. State aid that is available, and we're very fortunate in New Rochelle that for every dollar that gets spent on a capital project, we get about 50 cents back from the state of New York, and that is significant when you think about the potential investments and the magnitude of dollars and resources that go into, for instance, this last capital bond. 50 cents on those dollars is significant back to the taxpayers and back to the community. There's also a term called cost allowance, and this is important to consider because when you defer capital improvements, the cost of a project continues to increase. The cost of renovating, putting on a new roof, and so by waiting, that cost increases. But the state will only pay a certain amount, that cost allowance, towards that project. So if a roofing project, by example, might cost $10 million, but by deferring it, it somehow gets up to 15 or 20 million, but the cost allowance that the state provides is, say, $8 million. You know, it's $8 million, and it would be $8 million if you continued to defer that project. Am I right on that, Mr. Carl? Thank you. Okay. So you can see it doesn't pay not to continue to invest in your infrastructures. The state also changed the way they do reimbursements. They used to reimburse pretty quickly. Now it's spread out over a 15-year period. So it wouldn't cost to be cost effective to simply try to pay cash. That's why issuing bonds makes sense, which can be paid off over time. And when we get reimbursed for that 50 cents on the dollar that I talked about, guess what? The state actually pays interest. Am I right on that one too, Carl? Okay. So I'm getting close to where I'm going to quit while I'm ahead so far, but I know he'll correct me if I make a mistake. So really, where are we now? We've done the building conditions survey as we are allowed to and as the state recommends. We have also now gone out and we've had conversations with our principals to get a sense from them from a teaching and learning standpoint. What other things might we want to consider as we think about a potential, another capital bond project? And what have some other things that have emerged since the last bond? Well, Carl mentioned one. The roof that's over our heads right now, keeping us nice and dry on a night like tonight, is over 20 years old. So it's time to naturally think about replacing that roof. Security is another big issue that we are taking a look at, and putting in safe security vestibules at all of our schools has been a very hot topic. So that is another item that we are taking a significant look at. Do certain fields need to be replaced, right? One of the things Billy didn't mention, he's a longtime New Rochelle resident, plant manager at Isaac E. Young Middle School, and I'm sure you'd like to do something with that field out in front, right, Billy? That seems to be constantly going from nice grass in the summertime to mud right about now this time of year. And we've seen what that can do at Columbus Elementary, the partnership with the community. So we know there are significant things that need to be done. Again, right, we can't do it all. So it's about prioritizing, and it's about making sure that those investments in infrastructure really are addressing issues of equity. So that's where we are now. We're in the process of gathering our information, and we'll be coming back to the school board after the first of the year and coming up and seeing if we can have an acceptable plan that continues to do the significant investment in our beautiful buildings that are such an important resource here in our community. And with that, I will conclude our remarks and open up for any questions that the audience might have. Keeping in mind that we have tremendous, delicious refreshments waiting for you. So any questions, let's keep them. Hello, welcome. Would you like to play a little for us? No? All right. All right, let's see. Okay. There's always something on the agenda they don't tell me about. So anyway, any questions at all? Any last comments? Anything I missed, Carl, Tom? No? Final last marks? I would say again, we feel we're in really good hands. We have a very thoughtful, attentive, smart, community committee co-chaired by Billy and Paul Vaca, who runs, buildings and, for the city of New Rochelle. And if you've taken a look at downtown, there's a lot of things going on right now. And of course we have Keith Watkins, head of building and grounds, Ray Casher also helping to support him. All have worked closely with Carl and have a real good handle. And we have tremendous partners in CS Arch and in Jacobs. The work continues. Continuing, I hope in the very near future we'll have a ribbon cutting at our new beautiful library, which we're really excited about. And coming down the road, we don't quite know how long that road is yet, but will be a beautiful state-of-the-art swimming pool, a new turf field coming from McKenna later this summer. So we have. The work continues to go. It's constant, but I know it's a labor of love. Okay. Any last questions? Any last comments? If not, I want to thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the beautiful presentations. I think I want to give our friends from CS Arch a huge hand for putting that together. We will have these available on our website. All of the boards are going to make their way out to our individual schools, and we have tremendous things to be proud of, and right, we have to keep moving forward. So thank you all for coming out this evening on such a rainy evening. Enjoy some refreshments. Hello. And I wish you all and your families and your loved ones a safe and a joyous holiday season, and we look forward to seeing you in 2023, which we know is going to be filled with all sorts of adventures, including really rethinking how we continue to invest in our infrastructure here in New Rochelle. Thank you all for coming out. Have a good evening.